hello, people of YouTube land and those that are part of the Cringe Crew community Discord, and those that follow Ted and I on Twitch. I am Traductus.
And I'm Ted.
And also, hello to the people that are listening to this on the audio side, audio only side, whatever it's on Spotify or wherever we decide to put this podcast on. This is the Cringe Crew Gaming Movie Podcast. I got it right?
Yeah. Well, movie review podcast is close enough. Count it.
Shit. Oh, we need to stop doing these in the morning.
True.
And where we take a director's filmography and we review it. At least that's the theme that we've gone for so far. We're on Kubrick now. Last time we saw his first film, Fear and Desire. Now we're on to the second film, Killer's Kiss, which is made in 1955. This movie was, as I said, released September 21st, 1955 in New York City. And for the rest of the United States, was October 1st, 1955. It had a budget of $75,000, and it does not say how much money it made.
Healthy.
Now, before we get into more background, I figure we'll go into cast. Basically, a lot of the people that are in this are mostly unknown, with the exception, we have Frank Silvera back again. He plays the villain in this movie. The person that is the love interest in this is Chris Chase, who is went under the stage name Irene Kane, and I believe she was also a model and a writer and a journalist. And it's really all that I have. Like, there's like a couple like bit parts, like the Mannequin Factory Order was like a famous photographer, which is Skippy Adelman, and yeah, like there again with like the last one, not really much. We kind of went into like Frank Silvera in the last one, if I remember right.
A little bit. Yep.
Yeah. And for the background, with this being Kubrick's second feature, Kubrick removed his first film, Fear and Desire, from circulation over his dissatisfaction with it. Kubrick directed that film between the ages of 26 and 27, had to borrow $40,000, the equivalent of $408,000 in 2021. Jeez, holy!
Yeah, inflation's a bitch.
$700,000 to make Fear and Desire.
Well,
more or less.
The equivalent of it, yeah. But
makes me wonder. I'm starting to think like you while watching like the Lewis Gilbert Bond films. Like, where was the budget? God, film stock must have been fucking expensive. And he borrowed the money from like his uncle for like his first film, and this one, due to the last movie not recouping its production budget, he had to again finance things privately through friends and family, and most of the budget was covered by Boris Brozell, a Bronx pharmacist who was rewarded with the title of co-producer. And Kubrick tried shooting this with sound on location, which was common practice in Hollywood at the time, and I think it's hit or miss depending on whether it is or not nowadays. I assume they try to nowadays, unless like they can't because shit's loud. But Kubrick was frustrated with the intrusion of the microphone in his lighting schemes, so he fired his sound man and then post dubbed the entire film. That being said, the film is notable for its location shots in the old Penn Station, which had been demolished in 1963, as well as Times Square, and the rundown streets of both the Brooklyn waterfront and the Hell's 100 Acres, nicknamed the nickname at the time for Manhattan's Soho neighborhood. The ballerina Ruth Sabatka, the one that plays like the main character's sister, like that ballerina. She was Kubrick's wife at the time and was the art director of the film, and as well as the art director in the next film, The Killing. And also, against Kubrick's wishes, United Artists. This was another James Bond reference because United Artists was involved with the James Bond films. Shout out to our previous podcast. Check that out, the James Bond review podcast. Where was I? Oh yeah. United Artists required him to recut the movie with the happy ending. So apparently the ending was not a happy ending. And United Artists also paid $100,000 for the film, and also agreed to provide $100,000 for Kubrick's next movie, The Killing. So the next one, we're increasing the budgets more and more and more as we go. So hopefully, we get into something that we're gonna say is like, wow, that we're used to seeing from Kubrick. And that's basically what I got. You want to get into the plot?
Sure. So essentially, this plot, he's a boxer. He has a bad fight. He notices his neighbors getting into a fight. He goes over to his neighbors, starts a love interest with this girl. Then there's I don't know, like a struggle over the girl, I guess is the best way to put it. Although that feels kind of inhumane. And then
they fight over the lady when she tries running away with the boxer.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. There's kidnapping and violence and a deck of cards, and that's pretty much it. That's the movie.
Yeah, typical film noir shit.
Yep.
So we'll go into likes and dislikes. Like with the last one, this is going to be kind of a short podcast.
Hard to talk for a long time about a movie with not a whole lot in it. So
yeah. So, I guess we'll go with likes first.
Well, then you have at it, cause.
All right. I kind of enjoyed this film mainly just because I just like film noirs at a default. I just love like the lighting in film noirs, and I think the lighting in this movie was actually rather good, especially for like the small budget that it had. I also, the main thing that made me really have some enjoyment of this is the creative shots that are in the movie. Like some of the shots aren't really good, but like a couple of the scenes of like how like the boxing match was shot, I thought like you could see like Stanley Kubrick trying, different things to kind of find his niche. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense, but
yeah, I mean like it doesn't a lot of it doesn't necessarily work. Although there's a few parts where the framing does work, like especially like the scene with the elevator, like that's perfectly framed and well shot. There's like different things with like how Kubrick messes with like the geometry of everything to make it very, very uh box like, and that's really all I could really explain it. Uh, there's just different creative ways that Kubrick shoots the film. A lot of it's, hit or miss. It's like either really well done or really poorly done. But I could kind of see like Kubrick developing his craft in shooting with this movie, if that makes sense. And to me, it's like I could see all the pieces, there. He just hasn't figured out how to put them together yet. And to me, I found that rather interesting. And I also think that, for the most part, Frank Silvera's performance is actually pretty damn decent. There's some parts where he's actually like really, really good, with the exception of the fight scene, which I'm sure we're gonna go into with the fight scene at the end. But other than that, I have nothing really other positive to really say about this movie.
Okay, I also have nothing positive to say about this movie, and everything's a frustration. So, I guess we'll move to that then. I do want to pick up where you started talking about boxing and his camera angles. I think for the most part, the scenes later on in the movie were shot, at least the camera work and stuff was fine. The boxing was notably fucking bad, and it's how they started off the movie. The angles were weird. You could barely tell which fighter was which. All you knew is that the guy you were rooting for was down in the end, because the angles were bad, that they were catching it. There was no ability to capture the action. On top of the angles, sound was abysmal, which is where I'm going to pick up my second point, because the sound was awful. I know there's a reason that Stallman mentioned that they tried to film the sound on location. It's because they had to scrap it and dub everything over. There was not one sound in this movie that sounded quality or natural or well done in any stretch of the imagination. Everything was unrealistic and unbelievable. They were missing noises where they should have had them. They had too many noises in certain places, like they were making double noises that were excessively loud for every character's every single footstep on every surface. Awful. Absolutely fucking awful. There was not one realistic sounding thing in this entire goddamn film. It was abysmally bad.
Before we get into it, all right, I just want to add, because I know that this will be hilarious if this happens. We've had a history of Ted bitching about Foley artists. And then when this podcast comes out, the sound is subpar. If this happens again, I'm making fun of Ted.
It's fine.
Completely.
It's fine. At least I'll be using original fucking sounds.
I've only mentioned this because it's funny, and also there's not a lot of talk about this movie, so therefore padding time. So that way we can at least get a half hour out of this.
It was fucking awful. I'm gonna move on from that, or I'll get stuck there forever. The actors have very little enthusiasm. It doesn't seem like any of the actors really have a drive to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, like Frank's the only one that Frank Silvera's the only one that looks like he's actually trying to act. Everybody else is just like it's a 9 to 5.
Well, and even when he's trying to act, like it either goes over the top where you can tell that he still doesn't believe it, or it's too underwhelming and he still doesn't believe it. Like everybody's missing their marks. There's no sense of believability. You can't suspend disbelief. Like it's just unreasonable. I also think that there were some parts of the script, like some things that were just a little too much that made this feel unrealistic. So specifically in the chase scene leading up to the fight at the end of the movie, the main character jumps out the fucking window, lands on the ground, and starts running away. Probably not, but okay, we can ignore it. If not for then they're running across the roof and this other dude jumps down half of his body height and goes, man, ankle broken. I'm stuck on the roof for the rest of my life. I'll never be able to move again. And then they just so this dude can jump out the window head first, fall down several floors, get up and sprint. This dude can't drop from the waist down. 3-foot pool would ruin his life forever. Like that's just no. I recognize that you're setting it up for a one-on-one fight in the end, but like you could push the dude off the roof and it'd be more believable. Like I don't understand why 2 feet has to break his fucking ankles when some dude already jumped out a window. Whatever. The next thing is that so much of this could have been avoided if men in this movie had a free thought other than oh man woman. Like, I'm not saying it's unrealistic. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm just saying it made for a really shitty fucking plot.
His previous.
I'm just saying it makes for a really fucking shitty movie. I don't know. When the driving force is I can't think independently, so let's do things. Get over it.
Yeah. To me, the biggest issue I have with this movie is that the plot is super, super, super generic. Like, every low budget 50s film noir is like, man meets mysterious woman is in trouble, man has to help mysterious woman. And everything is being told like from like, you know, there's like a freaking voiceover of the main character, which you typically hear in like, you know, detective fiction and stuff, but which are typically film noirs. But like it's just been kind of overdone where I'm just kind of like it was just like meh. Like the only thing that, like I said, the only thing that kept me interested in it was like how the film was shot. And even if it was bad or, you know, good on some spots, I was just like, Kubrick's trying to figure things out. I can't, you know, it's like, I can't wait till we get to the movie where he finally, you know, figures it out and finds his niche.
Well, it's interesting you say that because like this one felt like a Kubrick in that like I saw similarities, right? Like one of the things that I noticed from Kubrick is that he will give you a scene that's like unnecessarily long and build some sort of, I don't want to say discomfort necessarily, but like he's really going to make you focus on it a while and drive it home. Specifically thinking about the second half of like Full Metal Jacket, right? Like some of those scenes in the trenches, they last way too long. You're focused on the same character. Nothing's changing for way too and it's supposed to make you uncomfortable or fearful, right? And like, I think that's poignant. We started to get some of those scenes in this one, but it was him running a loop around the roof and there was nothing poignant about it. It was just proving that they didn't know how to use time.
Oh, and the another thing that's really egregious, the freaking fight at the end in the mannequin shop.
Ugh.
Like, that was like slapstick comedy.
First off, there was no sound to, like, the sound was their footsteps again, and then just random throw plastic at things. It didn't match what they were doing. They were intentionally missing each other. There was not one, like, when you watch a fucking boxing match, right, they grunt as they get hit or as they throw punches, right, because it takes physical effort. Neither one of the characters made a fucking noise the entire time. There was no heavy breathing. There was no grunting. There was no fucking nothing. Just violent amounts of effort and complete silence.
Like, if you put the Benny Hill theme to this, you would have thought it was like a Three Stooges skit.
Not far off from it. It was fucking abysmal. And then at the end of that fight, one of them, like, they hear a police siren, and then they just both forget that the fight is there. Like, one of them just takes his axe. He's fighting this dude with an axe who's holding a fucking plastic mannequin leg, okay? He takes his axe, right? And he just goes, oh, fuck, let me go open the door. And he just turns around. First off, this should have been a violent, gruesome murder scene, right? But then on the winning side, you're just like, oh no, not a police officer. And you just turn around and leave the dude completely and totally fucking oh my God. This movie drove me fucking insane. It was awful.
That being said, I guess we're in the rankings because I got shit.
Yeah, easy second. Bottom of my list. I'm sad that this was the second movie because it means I have to put it in only second instead of like 40th. I hate it here. There were some Bond movies that I fucking hated. This one might be below all of those. I'm gonna be honest with you. This
Wait,
was awful.
even Casino Royale.
It might
67.
be. This was awful.
Let me guess. You're just like there was at least that one joke that you chuckled at.
I'm just saying this was abysmally bad. I don't think there's anything that they successfully did well.
Yeah. Objectively, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Like, despite me having more like engagement and interest in like this more than the last one, because like the last one I was just kind of like felt uncomfortable, then I was bored.
Fair.
And I'm just like, well, this one gives me emotion, but I'm just like, but as you're saying, like as a critic, I'd have to put this one below because the one before this was a better made movie than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not close.
It's really not. It's not. There's the first one, there's 50 feet of shit, and then there's it's bad. It's bad. All right.
I still think this is better than Casino Royale 67.
Man, it's fucking close. All right. With that, I think that's gonna wrap us up for this week. Like Stallman said at the beginning, we're gonna keep it short because no sense in talking for an hour about a movie that's only an hour. As always, you can catch us both on Twitch, Stallman at Traductus and myself at Ted Green Eagles. Be sure to hop in the Discord and you can watch future movies with us on Tuesdays, whether it's Kubrick or some other shit, which we'll get to eventually. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you here next week.
Yep. See ya.